Hi, welcome to Story Adventures. I'm Janine, your travel wizard here. And we've been talking about dreams and ambitions and things we want to accomplish, including traveling. And today we're going to talk about your dreams and ambitions when it comes to travel and how you plan that in retirement. You know, just like every goal, you need a solid plan to make your travel dreams come true. So today we're talking about the nuts and bolts, the big important money issue that nobody likes to talk about, with Catherine Valega from Financial Freedom Wealth Management. She's here to tell us what it takes to travel in the world of retirement. Hey, Catherine.
Awesome. Hello. How are you?
Good. Hey, so every time I have someone come on the show, I ask this important question. We've all been at home for 10 months. Where will you travel when you get to travel again?
Oh my God, I love this question. I love travel. I mean, and this has been a tough year for me not being able to travel. I have two things in mind. One, I have family in Switzerland, and they're older, my in-laws, and I'm just dying to take my whole family back to see them. That may include a little side trip to maybe France or Italy. So we always like to add something onto there. And then the other thing that I have been dying to do is we enjoy going to kind of the French-speaking Caribbean, so Martinique. And the one I'd like to try is Guadeloupe, actually. So that's also been, and I keep them like, oh, let us get through this period so we can get on the beach out there. So 2 trips in mind.
2 trips in mind. Do you speak French?
I do.
Yes, so that's nice.
Love it. And Martinique is just a lovely place. It's the locals are just absolutely charming and lovely. And if you do an Airbnb and kind of feel like in with the neighborhood, I love that place.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Plus, I could go for some beach right now because we're both in New England, so the weather is not all that great.
Correct. Cold and gloomy.
All gloomy. So I don't know about you, but if I talk to anyone who is about to retire or planning for retirement and you say, what do you want to do when you retire? 9 times out of 10, they'll say travel, right?
Absolutely.
But it's not really that easy. I mean, over the past few weeks, I've been coming on and talking about how to reach your travel goals, right? And I have a Dream Big Travel Planner, and I put the link in the comments. So if you want to grab that, go ahead. And it just is full of tips and prompts to think about your why and your what, as well as your where when you retire. So when people come to you when they talk about retiring, do a lot of them talk about adding travel or big travel plans? And how do you advise them if they do
absolutely
incorporate travel?
Absolutely. And I would argue now even more than ever, because people are realizing, right, life is short. And, you know, what is the most important thing is your family and memories, creating the memories, right? It's not the acquisition of an object. It's creating memories. And most often we're doing them on family vacations. So when our clients come to us and talk to us about, you know, their dreams and goals, and we're helping them map it out, you know, that's one of the questions that we ask is, let's talk a little bit about, you know, what you would like to do in retirement, and if that includes travel, and what types of travel. Now, I count on them to, you know, come to you and kind of map out their dreams, and then we can work together and say, okay, if I want to take my family to, you know, uncover our coat of arms in Ireland or Scotland, what will that entail? Okay, it's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. How am I going to line item that in my budget, right? And can I budget for that? Okay, yes, gotta have that done. All right. So then the next year or 5 years later, another wedding anniversary comes up, and I want to bring my family on a safari, right? What is that going to cost, right? So first they work with you and figure out the cost, and then you guys all come back to me and say, you know, this is what we need to line item and budget and make sure we account for it. And then they know they really have, you know, they've budgeted for it and they have the permission to do it, versus I have this kind of idea. Do I have enough money? It's a much easier process when you've actually budgeted for it. Then you know you can.
Right. Because you need a pretty big nest egg. we don't know how long we're going to live. I mean, let's
Correct.
face it, right? So
Correct.
we could be around for a long time or maybe not. So I imagine it's very hard to think when you're in your 40s or even now I'm in my 50s that who knows how long I'm going to be here and to really think about how I want to live. So what types of things do you talk about with people in terms of um, maybe not so, I mean, talking about retirement, but also like where do they find money for travel? Because of course you need your day to day.
Yep.
What would you suggest to people? Like
Yeah,
how
well, it's absolutely, it's all part of your, basic financial planning, right? So sorry if that's ringing on your end. So basically, right, we deal with your assets. What is your assets? What is the amount of income that's going to produce? And then what is your budget really per year, right? You have your, maybe you still paying a mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, your healthcare, all of that. But it's really just part of the budget, right? So we have our fixed expenses, discretionary expenses, and then dreams. And let's put it all in there. And if we can make it all work for you, that's the ideal.
right? And
So
I always think that, so you mentioned this earlier, thinking about which trips you want to take. So in terms of the big heck yeah trips, right? Some of the more maybe 1 week or smaller trips. But I think that it's important to think about the big trips, the big, very active, say it's a safari, say if it's Machu Picchu or something, doing that younger when your health is better and you just probably are more up for it. But that also means taking a big chunk of your savings right at the beginning. So, what would you say if someone said, "That sounds great, but I'm a little bit nervous about taking out 25,000 or whatever it ends up being for this great grand trip?" Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
how should people think about that?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like to share in financial planning world is we have some expressions. So sort of the first part of your retirement, second part, and third part. The first part we call the go-go years. And that is, right, when we want to do those active trips, right? You might need vaccinations. You might be organizing people, kids and grandkids coming in from all different parts of the world to meet you someplace. Then the second part is slow go. And that might start to have, maybe more domestic trips. Maybe you're visiting national parks, you're visiting kids and, in the country. And then you have the last part, which is really the no-go years where,
Right.
you like your bed, you want people to come to you. Although I would also argue it's nice to have budget for those years as well, because sometimes the kids, don't have the discretionary spending and you want them all to come to you for Christmas.
That's a
So
really good point. I didn't even, to be honest with you, that's true. Like
yeah,
when they're caught up in their lives and they may not have the finances to make sure that there's also a buffer for travel, inward travel,
absolutely.
inbound travel.
Absolutely. And it is kind of a special treat, right? It's important for you as a grandma is to have everybody around you for Thanksgiving, but they're like, I don't have $4,000 to pay for flights for my, family of six.
Right.
So to the extent that, you want to also budget for that type of travel. So it's all about budgeting and making it, we work on the number, we're the numbers doctors, and we pull strings and we look at what you have. And then we're honest about, what we think is realistic for you guys. But I'm a big believer in living, right? Like you also have to live, and you have to create those memories. And as we've seen, this past year has been kind of tough, and we've seen some sad things happen to people much earlier than they anticipated.
Right.
So I really think that now people more than ever, number one, they're itching to travel. And number two, they're realizing how important it is, sort of family time and creating memories, and even girlfriend time, right? Like, organizing the wine tasting trip to Italy with your best friends, right? People are now like, before we're like, oh, we're going to do it when we're 50, when we're whatever. And it's like, yeah, actually, maybe you should really plan on this now, right?
Right.
Like, let's do that. And we have seen, a year, it might wind up being a little bit longer of kind of pent up travel demand. And
Right.
so I would say, talk to your travel person, go, call Janine and say, this is what I'm thinking. what do you think? What is that going to cost me? And is it realistic? And can I get everybody together to come and do the same thing? Can I get the family? Can I get my friends, et cetera? So as a financial planner, we just look at the numbers, and if we can make it work, we love giving that answer to clients, saying, yeah, absolutely, let's
Right.
do it.
And moving things around or setting up. Would you suggest people set up a separate like savings account, or just kind of as the big picture, part of a big picture plan?
Well, it's a good question. I think whatever works best for you in how your mind functions. I think some people do enjoy kind of, your savings account that is dedicated travel, and you just sort of dedicate it and set it aside. Other people, it's all in one bucket, and they get that each
Right.
year they get to spend a certain amount. So for sure, whatever works best for you.
Yeah, they like to see it add up. When my kids were younger, we went and got passbook from the bank.
Absolutely.
I think they had to go in the back and like dust them off because nobody had them.
Put in the little machine.
Right, exactly. But it was fun for them to see as they put birthday money in to go. So I can see why that would be. And plus, you earn that trip. I mean, you do earn it anyway, but it's a sense of accomplishment that you actually earn that. So I think you're right about so many missed celebrations this year, so much time missed with family and friends. And I agree. I think there's people are going to really want to travel, and there's going to be big demand. And I think that people are going to start thinking about putting together a big trip with the whole family. You'll have Nana and Papa bringing everyone together or something like that. Is there a better way to prepare for that? If you want to buy, even, I mean, if you have the money to begin with, but maybe you don't, maybe you just want it to be a special thing. Is there a way to think about planning that, or is that similar to just long-term travel goals?
Well, to me, obviously I'm a financial planner, so I'm biased, is work with your planner and look at the numbers. A lot of clients don't really have a good handle on what they can afford or not, right? And sometimes they come to us and they really want permission, right? Do I have the permission? Do you see the numbers? Does it work for me that I can make this work? And, and we love being able to say, yeah, you can, you have the funds, and you will be fine, take that vacation.
Right.
So, and if you don't, maybe we need to trim it back. Maybe we say, okay, we're going to host people at my house, or we're not going to go abroad, but we'll go to Florida. So it's really kind of give and take. You can work with your financial planner to say, how much do I have? But you can also work with your, travel concierge, Dr. Janine, who says, what is it going to cost? And then you say, how do the two combine? And let's make it happen. Let's make life and sort of memories happen.
Right. Because I agree with you, because that really is what it's all about. And in terms of from my perspective, that's why I think coming up with, 3, 5, 10 plus years of a travel plan. I know I've mentioned that to people, and they're like, that is actually a good idea, because we all have places we want to go.
Yeah.
But it always is in that someday bucket, right?
Correct.
And really the only way to get there is to think it through and really understand how much it costs, prioritize which trips you want to do first, and then sit down with you, Catherine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Come up with the funding and everything else. So I think that's super important. So if someone was thinking something they could do today or tomorrow or whenever, soon, to think about putting together a travel plan, well, first grab the Dream Big travel planner.
Absolutely.
But then what's a good first step? Would it be to schedule an appointment, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I love talking to clients about their current situation and what it will allow for. So, absolutely. I mean, again, I'm biased, but I say call your financial planner. I'm happy to take your phone call and help you work through the numbers. And let's see what we can make happen for you, and let's budget. I mean, it's really a line item in your budget is travel. The same way people line item either gifts or philanthropy, right? People give to their churches, they give to their philanthropies of choice. It's the same thing. Let's line item for the budget, for the travel budget.
Right.
So
yeah. And I think it's also important to think, I know a lot of people, I said at the beginning that 9 times out of 10 people will say travel, but I think it's important too for people to be honest with themselves in terms of everyone has an idea that they want to travel, but to really think about what that means to them if they are really an intrepid traveler or they're more interested in like a nice leisurely cruise or something,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and that's important too, to be honest and think about physically and what you want to put into the trip. And so there's a lot that goes into it. So it's definitely it's a good pairing to think about.
Well, and I would argue that that's where you fall. That's where they're calling you, right? Because you are helping them put together the dream plan, but you also have the sense of what it's going to cost and what it entails, right? Is this like, they may say safari, but you're like, well, they're not going to have a gluten-free option, right? Like we don't know this as we can go to the Google, but
Right.
that's not enough. We want someone who is sort of expert in this area to say, actually, you have vaccinations, you have this, you have that, you have to make sure your passport, you might need a visa, like all of those things. We could probably figure it out on our own, but it's going to take us way too much time. Like, let's talk to you and create the dreams and then work backwards on the dreams to say what is realistic, and let's plan for it, and then let's budget for it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And no, what's really a really cool thing is that there's something for everybody. Like so if you retire and maybe your health isn't that great, doesn't mean you can't.
Absolutely.
It just means finding a new way. And there's a lot of ways for people who have limitations to be able to get out there and to be able to travel for a long period of time. So I think it's important to really, not just think the first few years, what do you call them, the go-go,
yeah,
retirement years, but kind of easing into the slower as well. And
absolutely
and do then.
Yeah, and there's a lot of options, right? Maybe you help them find their luxury condo in Miami that's handicapped accessible, but the grandkids have the pool built in, and the adults have the cocktails, and then the grandparents have their walks on the beach and the golf or whatever. But again, right. I think that's where I'm like, I call Janine for that stuff. You help us figure it all out.
So this has been really great. Thank you so much for coming on, Catherine. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you and your services? And
thank you so much. Financial Freedom Wealth Management Group online. We'd love to take your call. I have a great team. There's 18 of us and we're growing. Any of us can help. You're happy to ask for me, but I'd love to take your call and talk to you about your travel budget. That's fun.
It is fun. And it's super important. Planning for retirement
Absolutely.
is super important. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, that really it's good to think ahead for sure. So thanks again for coming on, and thanks for stopping by. And don't forget to grab a copy of your Dream Big Travel Planner. It's right next door. And until next time, let's go, because every great story starts with an adventure. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.